I knew that stalking you would pay off.
What's going on here? You in love with me or something? What's going on?
Anyway, the world is truly a better place because you are in it. Your impact is undeniable. Hi there, and welcome to Undeniable. On today's show, we have a dynamic leader who knows how to bring out the best in people. Please welcome the Executive Director of Momentum Education, Robinson Lynn. Hi, Robinson.
Hello, I'm very excited to be here.
I'm really glad that you can make it here. It means a lot to me. So y'all need to know Robinson. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Robinson. By age 25, Robinson Lynn had assumed leadership of a Manhattan training and development company, acquired a second location for it, doubled its client base, and reinvigorated its philanthropic activities. Today, he is Executive Director of Momentum Education, providing experiential learning and life coaching with a focus on leadership development for thousands of individual and organizational clients in 3 different U.S. markets and 1 overseas. He fancy. In support of the United Nations International Decade for People of African Descent, Robinson was recognized as one of the most influential people of African descent for his humanitarian work. MyPad, the host organization, has now engaged Robinson at the forefront of its efforts to inspire high achievers of African descent around the world to eradicate injustice and develop coalitions across the diaspora. He is a graduate of George Washington University and was a protege of Robin Lynn, his mother, an international trainer who was recognized by the South African government for her role in dismantling the apartheid system. Robinson is married to Tamara Lynn, an educator and transformational trainer. Hey, girl. So that is just a little bit about Robinson. How did you feel? Just hearing that, how did you feel?
That's a great question. I think, how did I feel? It's like, as you were saying those things, it was like I was watching kind of the movie of my life thus far.
Nice.
And kind of pausing on each scene and saying, oh yeah, that did happen. And I do remember that. And so that was actually a really cool experience, just kind of taking the time to go down memory lane, which I don't always do.
Awesome. I feel excited that I could provide a little memory lane moment for you.
Absolutely.
Now, I feel like I know a good bit about you, but there's so much more that I don't know. So I want to know about Robinson before Momentum. I know you went to George Washington University, but even before then, what were you interested in? Where did you see yourself being?
Great question. So where did I see myself being? I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, it's actually interesting that you say that, right? Before I was kind of the executive director of Momentum, before I was in university, what was I doing? And I was saying, I grew up in New York City. And if you grew up in New York City around the same time as me, you may have seen me. I had hair that I'd probably gone about 18 to 24 months without a haircut. I was, in my mind, going to be a world famous rapper.
Wow.
And so
you got bars, Robinson?
I think the correct term would be had.
Okay.
At this point. But what's funny about that is that at that time I wanted to do music, and in particular because I wanted to use lyrics as a way of helping people connect.
Wow.
And so although I don't feel in any way, shape, or form like I'm currently a rapper, it's not something that I'm currently trying to do, I do feel like I'm able to incorporate music into my life in a way that is still impactful and at times transformational.
Wow. Now, I didn't even expect that, but
You said before, and so
now I'm super curious, but we'll see if we can get some old tracks to come out from Robinson. So, your mom being an amazing woman,
yeah.
When did you realize that your mom wasn't just a great mom, but like a big deal and loved by many?
That's a great question. So, I just love hearing someone talk about my mother. And so, you said it in my bio, but I'm literally named Robinson. My mother's name was Robin.
I love it.
Yeah, literally named Robin's son. And so I always have taken a lot of pride in being her son. And I would say I grew up really in a single parent household with my mother. She also had 2 other children. I was the youngest.
Oh.
And what I started to realize at a young age was that my mother had a life as a mother, and she also had a life completely different in terms of what she was doing with her life as a transformational coach all around the world.
Yeah.
And so at a young age, I started to realize, like, oh, you're going someplace. Where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Russia. Oh, you're going, where are you going? I'm going to Spain. Where are you going? And so she would travel around the world bringing transformational work and looking to impact people.
Yeah.
And then come back home and be very much mom inside of our home and our apartment. And so when I realized was probably in 1995, 1996, I was used to my mother going and traveling and then coming back to us.
Uh-huh.
And this was the first time she said, would you like to move someplace? And I said, where? She goes, I think we're going to move to South Africa. Would you be excited about that? And I think I said, no, I don't think I would be excited about that. I think we should stay. And she said, I think you're going to enjoy the adventure.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, she had moved myself and my entire family to Cape Town, South Africa, without knowing anyone in the city of Cape Town, the country of South Africa, or really anyone on the continent of Africa.
Wow.
But immediately following the fall of the apartheid, she wanted to be a part of the healing of that country. And she was, willing to, as a single mother, and also as a Black woman at that time, moving to South Africa, taking her entire family with the intention of, I guess what I got to see was that she wasn't telling other people to live the life of her dreams without asking the same thing of herself. And I think now as a parent, and I've only been a parent for about 1.5 years, but it's pretty phenomenal for me to see that as an example. I think so often parents have to feel like they have to choose between their dreams and being a parent.
Yes.
And the way she modeled it, I realized that I would like to model for my child, my daughter, what it means to be a parent and still go after your dreams.
I think that's amazing. And I think it is so courageous to get up and move to some place that you know nothing. I'm struggling with what state I want to visit. Okay. But absolutely amazing. When you first realized that you would be taking over at Momentum, were you filled with nerves or were you too determined to even feel the nerves?
That's a great question. So, I've mentioned my mother and you've mentioned my mother. You asked me, what was I doing before Momentum, right? I was saying I was going to do music and things of that nature. But Momentum does workshops. And at one point, I was a participant in a Momentum workshop.
Awesome.
And what I remember so clearly was that time I had a job in public relations that I didn't really enjoy.
Okay.
But it was a good job to have. But it was one of those things where I was constantly checking my watch and time was moving so slowly. And I used to drink lots of water just to break up the day, right? And I remember doing the first workshop as a participant, and the day had gone by. It was the end of the day. I was about to leave to go home, and I realized I hadn't checked my watch once. And I thought, oh, this is what I should be doing, right? Wow. I should be doing something where I don't have to check my watch. Or if anything, I'm checking my watch hoping that time will slow down as opposed to speed up. And so I say all that to say, though, that in my mind at that time, I thought it was going to be me learning with my mother and working under her as a part of Momentum. But unfortunately, in October of 2009, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And she was diagnosed on a Wednesday. And at that time, I had just graduated from college a few months earlier. And so I remember it so clearly because she was diagnosed on a Wednesday. On a Thursday, we got a second opinion. On Friday, I went to work. And so it felt like a blur in a lot of ways. But I would say I didn't necessarily feel any additional pressure at that time around Momentum because the pressure I felt was, how do I support my mother at this time?
Yes.
And so as a son, it felt to me like an opportunity as opposed to pressure. And and I've said this before, but she was such a remarkable woman that I never felt pressure to try to emulate her.
Okay.
Because I knew I wouldn't do a good job. And so if I knew I wasn't going to do a good job of like a bad imitation, then I never felt the pressure to try.
Yeah.
And in that opportunity, it gave me an opportunity to see, well, what can I bring to the table? And also trusting that although I was young and inexperienced, she had lots of experience. And she had other people in her life she could have chosen. And so if she chose me, then maybe I don't have to figure out why she chose me, but I can trust that she made the decision for the right reasons.
Yeah. I feel all of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just like watching you talk about your mother, like I can feel like the love and the joy, and like I feel good now.
Yeah.
So like the gift that just keeps giving.
Absolutely.
So I was introduced to Momentum through Lavaro. Hey, Lavaro.
Hi, Lavaro.
And in the beginning, I was, when he mentioned it, I was like, oh, that sounds great. But I have extreme social anxiety. And I was like, this involves people. Now, mind you, this was right like in the middle of the pandemic. So everything was virtual. I was still just nervous
Absolutely.
out of my mind. But it really, I don't want to say forced, but encouraged me to lean into my vulnerability. I may have cried a tear or two. Maybe. No one's seen it, so we can't prove it.
There's no footage.
Right. Nobody knows, but I may have shed a tear. What is it about this organization that gets people in their feelings and really helps them release?
That's a great question. So I think, one, thank you for also trusting Lavaro and saying yes to an opportunity. And, as you said in the bio, we have both in-person workshops, but we also have full virtual offerings. And we had never done virtual before 2020.
Yeah.
And I think for some of our graduates who are used to our in-person experiences, they were like, how can it be done? And I personally believe it's just as vulnerable and powerful. And, I've also shed some tears on a virtual experience as well because I moved on a heart-to-heart basis.
Yeah.
And so I think I think we've designed and really looked to curate experiences where people can focus on a heart-to-heart basis.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is your experience, but my experience is that, we're filming this in New York City. There is so much going on. There's constant choices, distractions, pressure, stress. And it's rare for people, sometimes even in their own home, to have an opportunity to just pause. And I think the work we do is meant to have you pause, but it's also meant to have you, I was going to say reflect, but I don't know if we initially start with reflection. I think we initially start with connection. Because myself in a room, I may or may not have I may not feel like I'm vulnerable in a space just by myself.
Gotcha.
But when I'm with others who, whether I know them or not, are having similar experiences, whether what I've made up about that person in my mind is being challenged by who they actually are and how they're really sharing with me, then the heart-to-heart connection starts to really take over. And if I see you being vulnerable, it's an invitation for me to say, well, if Chanelle's willing to do this, is an opportunity for me to do the same. And so I think there's a way in which without putting pressure on anyone to show up in a certain way, we invite people to connect and reflect. And in doing so, I think people take an opportunity to let down some of the walls that we build up and have built up for years.
I absolutely agree with all of that. I want to jump to your baby. I want to know how or if fatherhood has changed your approach to coaching.
Great. How fatherhood has changed my approach to coaching, I would say yes.
Okay.
100%. And it's not like I'm not going to apologize to anyone who experienced me as a coach before I was a father, right? But I think a few different things have come from this year and a half of being a father. One, I realized in taking care of a baby, that no one's made it anywhere without at times being taken care of. And it doesn't mean that some haven't gone through tragedies, and it doesn't mean that some people haven't been let down by their own parents.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be alive in this moment without some people taking care of you at times when you weren't able to take care of yourself.
Gotcha.
And so for me, that's also, as a coach, it's allowed me to accept support in a way that theoretically I understood before, but I was still trying to do everything myself. And now in seeing that, it's like, well, if I didn't get here by myself, why would I try to get to the next part of my journey by myself?
Yes.
And so I've looked to let in support in a different way.
Okay.
And I think that's directly related to fatherhood. I also would say as a coach, I've always been really intentional. I'm a results-driven person.
Okay.
So even
I like that.
Yeah, me too. Because even at a young age, I had like the checklist of like bullet points. Now the goals changed, but I always wanted to accomplish something.
Gotcha.
It went from being a rapper to I want to open this organization or I want to support this. But I always had goals and I was goals-driven. And I'm still goals-driven, but I would say at this moment in time, I'm also experience-driven.
Gotcha.
Where it's not just enough for me to support someone with having them accomplish what's on their dreams. I really want to make sure that they pause and feel accomplished. Because I think so many people are accomplishing without feeling accomplished, without taking moments to be proud of themselves, without moments of gratitude for going after that dream in the first place. And so seeing the way, right now, my daughter has I did it is really like exciting to her, right? She did something, wow. And I look at her and she goes, I did it. And she's both surprised, amazed, glad. And there's no promise that she's going to try to do it again, right? She's just like, I did it.
Right.
And so that's had me as a coach really make sure that with the people I support that we're taking the time to pause and say, you did it. And we're not just waiting until you cross the finish line to say it, because sometimes it says like, I did this step towards this bigger goal.
Yes. It took me a while to really count every little thing. I am super hard on myself. And if I feel like I'm not reaching that goal, I'm just like, well, what's wrong with you? You need to fix it, get it together. But when I really take a moment and I step back and I'm like, okay, what am I grateful for?
Absolutely.
And I start just counting up the little things. And before you know it, I start feeling better. The imposter syndrome starts to melt away. And I just feel lighter. And these are some tools that I've learned in moments.
I appreciate that. And I think I just really related to the experience of that you shared as someone who at times has been very hard on myself. And I think that's been a catalyst for accomplishing a lot. And at the same time, without taking those moments to pause and be grateful, I think what I noticed, and this particularly happened during the pandemic and the beginning of the pandemic, was that myself as an individual and the organization Momentum, we had pivoted and we were accomplishing things we never thought we could accomplish, but we weren't taking the time to say, wow, look at what we just did, because I wasn't taking the time to do that.
Okay.
And so it was creating the experience of, I would almost say demotivation, right? As opposed to, wow, look, like, let's take that moment. So I realized, like, when you described yourself as being lighter with yourself, when I'm lighter with myself, it also allows me to be lighter with others. And I think that's a impact that can't be measured, but I'm grateful that I'm learning that same lesson as you are.
Yes. A lot of gratitude in the room. Now, I've told you in private, I'm telling you in front of everybody, I absolutely love what you've done with your mother's dream.
Thank you.
I mean, I try to get my daughter to buy like my products and she's like, no, forget about it. But seriously, like, I think it's amazing for you to just be so dedicated and to care so much. And I feel like it's almost as if like you birthed this. That's how I see you as a leader. I want to know, how much bigger is your dream for Momentum? Where do you see this beautiful organization heading?
I appreciate that. I think that's a great question, right? I have so many different dreams occurring at the same moment in time.
Please share.
I think something that's occurred over, we've been in existence for 20 years. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
I was at the party. Sorry.
It was a great party, wasn't it?
It was.
It was I hadn't been at a 20-year-old birthday party in a while, so it had to be the organization. And I love the way in which we're, as an organization, people come to us when they're ready to take new ground in their lives. And I think we ask people to be willing to be different to get new results. And for me, I'm really proud that as an organization, I think we are constantly looking to be different, to see what's the challenges of this moment and the years to come, and not just do things the way they've always been done if
Okay.
that's the only reason we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I love that we have virtual offerings. Since 2020, we've worked with 45 different, with people from 45 different countries.
Wow.
Thousands of people virtually, and then thousands of people in New York City. I'm in New York City right now because 2 days from now, we're opening up a new training location in
Yes.
Soho.
Congratulations.
Which feels like a nice butterfly moment. Of like, I have nervousness. I can't wait for people to see it. And I'm like, oh, people are really going to see it though.
Yeah.
But that's where a lot of our workshops are going to be done. But I think if I was to specifically say one dream in this moment, is that I love when we work with adults. I really love when we work with young people.
Okay.
And we are, one of our biggest clients is the New York City Department of Education. And we're in lots of different schools. But there's something, a lot of people when they're adults and they go through our workshops and they receive, experiential learning and new tools they can apply in their lives. I would, I'd be disingenuous if I would say that I've never heard someone say, man, I wish I had this a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love when young people are able to get tools for communication and leadership,
Yes.
and understanding how much they matter
Yeah.
at such a pivotal time in their lives, where they never have to say, wow, I wish I got this a few years ago, where they're like, this is the perfect moment for it.
Yeah.
And so we're really continuing to look to work with schools on a city, state, and federal level in terms of the Department of Education, even federally, because I would love, I think ideally one day there probably isn't a momentum education because everyone's already had it as a part of their education.
Wow.
So that would be my hope.
That is big. And I feel that. And I'm sending you all the good vibes towards all of that. I can definitely tell you, I wish that I had momentum earlier.
Yeah.
I feel like I would be a completely different person. But I am grateful that it came into my life when it did. And thankfully, I didn't, like, LeVaro's really great. I didn't need a lot of convincing. He was right to the point. Me, myself, I'm not as good an explainer as LeVaro, perhaps. So for me, someone who really wants to share this experience with people, how can I get them in the doors? What do I say?
That's a great question. I think, I'm grateful because as I'm looking at you, I'm also looking at that sign, Undeniable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, LeVaro, however LeVaro explained momentum education, you go to our website, we have, testimonials, videos. We actually show you what we do. We want to be transparent as an organization that it's experiential leadership workshops. But someone can tell you about it. I think what's undeniable is results, right? There's probably something you noticed either in how LeVaro was showing up that had you say, right? That had you listen to him, that if someone else could have said those exact same words.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the explaining. For some, it's the results, right? The results are undeniable, right? Your podcast is undeniable. All the ways in which and things you've accomplished these last few years are undeniable. So for me, I think the great way to inspire others to go after their dreams is for them to see you going after yours, and for you to take the moment to celebrate as you're accomplishing them.
Yeah.
Because I think most people want to be a part of celebrations and parties.
Yeah.
And I think, feel free for others to go to our website, momentumeducation.com, or look me up, Robinson Lynn. But I think for so many, it's seeing the workshop and the curriculum is one thing, but it's really seeing the way people are impacted and being inspired to say, okay, well, I may not want that exact thing they just received, but it does have me want to reflect on what it is that I want on my heart.
First of all, thank you. I receive all that. I think that momentum education had a lot to do with Undeniable and me feeling like I needed to create this space. And originally, like I was telling you earlier, I created this space to share more about me. And then I was like, I know some pretty undeniable people. I want to celebrate these people. And that's what it's really become now. And I realized the other day, as much as I started this to honor people, it feels so good to me. Like, it's such a good feeling to give people their flowers and feel their gratitude. And, I'm just in a happy space, and momentum education has a lot to do with where I am today. So
I appreciate that.
I will Thank you very much for that. I want to play a quick game with you.
Great.
All right, it's a fan favorite. It's it's undeniably this or that. And what I do is I give you two choices, people, places, things, whatever I think of. You tell me which one you prefer and quickly just why.
Okay, absolutely.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Nas or Jay-Z?
Well, that's just the hardest question of all time. And you want me to say why quickly?
Take your time. You can take your time on this one.
I will say, for those, it's a great question, especially for me, because those are my two favorite artists of all time.
Great.
And I would say I've really enjoyed that Nas is still consistently creating music.
Okay.
Like, I remember sneaking into Nas concerts. Well, I won't go all that path, but yes. And I just love that he's someone who is still consistently making music, particularly for me as a young person who didn't grow up with my father in the home. Mm-hmm. I was looking to kind of learn lessons wherever I could see certain lessons. And so often, some of the lessons I was learning were from hip hop artists and rappers who might be 10, 15 years older than me, but they're sharing things and I'm listening and I'm also taking notes. Oh, okay, that's what, right?
Yeah.
And so I say that to say that I just love that now that I'm at this age, which is a little bit older than Nas was when I was in high school and as a kid, I'm still listening to music from him that he's making 10 to 15 years older than me.
Got you.
And kind of giving me a trailer of certain things to expect. And I say all that to say, though, for me, I still have to go with Jay-Z.
Okay.
Just because Jay-Z, I think, one, from a lyrical standpoint, two, from what he's done from a culture and example standpoint, there's so many times in which I found inspiration to go, well, if he could do X, why wouldn't I go after Y?
Got you.
So I think hard question to start, but I'm going to go with Jay-Z, and I'm still going to say thank you to Nas.
Yes. I wanted to start off tough. Okay.
I'm sure it's going to be easier moving forward.
Yes. I'm going to lighten it up.
We'll see.
A fancy restaurant or a nice picnic?
Ooh, that's a great one. I'm going with a nice picnic. I have really enjoyed, especially so now, like I've said before, being a father for this first year and a half, there are so many ways in which nature has become my best friend as a parent. It's like, there's something, let's just go outside, right? And so, but it's been intentional in a way in that I've now found myself really experiencing just so many great aspects of being outside. And so, a nice picnic, preferably when you're still there at sunset, dusk, is pretty perfect for me.
I love that. New York or DC?
Great question. So Chanelle knows this. I go back and forth between New York and DC, literally, right? Not just as a question, but I currently live in both places and go back and forth. So I would say in this moment, I'm going to say New York.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I just got in a few hours ago and there was a level of vibrancy and electricity. The U.S. Open's happening that was just very palpable to me.
Okay.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised, though, if, when I get back to D.C. in a few days, I might find something to love there. But because in this moment I am here, I'm connecting with what I love about it. And I've grown up and born and raised in New York City.
Born and bred.
Exactly.
I like that. Ooh. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Music or movies?
Music or movies? Music. Yeah, music.
Love it.
Music, because I think the best movies have a great musical soundtrack.
Okay.
And I think for me, the best moments in my life had either a musical soundtrack that was actually playing or just music I was hearing. But there's never a time in my life where music is not providing a soundtrack.
Well, since we're on music, we're going to start and end with music. Biggie or Pac?
Okay, Biggie or Pac? Okay. It's getting hot in here. That's a great question. I think as someone born and bred in New York City, the way that I've seen Biggie be celebrated post, like literally after death, has been, I've had so many beautiful moments in New York City where Biggie's been the soundtrack. And so
I agree.
And I love Tupac, but I just think there's a special way in which what Biggie means in this particular city to people of a certain time, and also new people and others. I just think it's really, really special.
I receive that. I'm not saying what my answer is. I'm just saying I receive that. I respect that there are no wrong answers. And you did awesome. The game is good.
Oh, thank you.
We're at my favorite part of the show.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what. That's the undeniable part of the show.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Drama. I like to provide drama. Okay. Robinson, I'm so fortunate that our paths crossed. Not only have you successfully kept your mother's dream alive, but you've dedicated your life to helping others find the tools necessary to expand and elevate. You've upheld and helped build a community of brilliant, talented, ambitious individuals, all working towards self-improvement and helping each other win. Thank you for believing in me and my dreams and then supporting me in my goals. I am forever grateful for each time you've poured life into me, allowing me to see myself in a new light. You're a loving husband, a proud papa, and a dedicated son that would make any parent proud. Thank you for being an undeniable leader. This is yours.
Wow.
How you feel about that?
As someone who gets, like, I consistently speak, that I'm left without words almost. Was not expecting that in any way, shape, or form. But so grateful to feel seen and celebrated by you. And for you to actually have all those words with me, and something I can take home with me. I can't wait to put this somewhere in my home, and I'm really excited for my daughter Sula to one day be able to find this and read this.
Aww.
And so thank you so much. This was you've been a gift in getting to know you, and this is the latest gift, and I'm very appreciative.
Thank you so much. I feel a little special now. You see what Robinson be doing to people? No, I absolutely appreciate you, appreciate what you do. I appreciate your wife. I appreciate Momentum completely. And what you're doing, everyone needs to know about. Everyone needs to find a way to get involved because it's so helpful. It's the best self-development.
Thank you.
The best. So people need to find you. People need to know what your social media is, where they can contact you, how they can get involved with Momentum.
Absolutely.
So please let the people know.
So I would say momentumeducation.com
Okay.
has a description of all of our services, both our individual personal development workshops as well as our professional development workshops. If you look up Momentum Education on social media, you'll see some of the fun events we do. You'll see some of the offerings that occur. And I would say if you want to kind of, if you're interested in following up with me right now, my best place would probably be Instagram, and it's RobinsonLynn444. Prerequisite, I'm letting you know, there's lots of photos of my daughter these days.
The cutest.
So if you're not anti-seeing cute photos, you should definitely go there. But either way, momentumeducation.com has a full list of our offerings and all the different ways in which we can collaborate and partner around what matters to you. And I'm sure there's something else I'm supposed to say in this moment around those, but I'm still, very present to just how beautiful experience this interview has been and this opportunity moment has been. So thank you.
Thank you. That means so much to me. And I want you to know it's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in today. I'm so honored.
This has been undeniable.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Thank Robinson. Thank you guys. This has been an awesome show. Until next time, later. Leaning on the strength of vulnerability, today I want to share a video with you. It's a personal video diary entry that I never intended on sharing with anyone. I'm not dolled up. It's just me laying in the bed, speaking from my heart, telling you how I feel after a momentum education event. Take a look.
I'm so tired, but I'm full. A very deep, reflective, motivating, I wouldn't even say pivotal weekend with momentum education. And honestly, after the first day of this weekend, I was like almost done. Like, I don't need this. I don't need these people. Like, they don't know me. They don't need to know me. It's fine. Just like everybody else is fine. And I got so into it. Like, it kept me up. Well, it woke me up like 5 in the morning. I was just up thinking about it. Like, wow. I really don't let people get that close to me. I don't let people get past my little gate. And I really have the nerve to expect these people to know things about me or to understand me. And like with my talents, I expected my friends to like magically guess, I guess, that I have these talents and consider me for things, and just a lot of narratives I was creating in my head. But I'm grateful for clarity. I'm grateful for feedback. Even understanding like how I accessorize with, my patterns and my colors and my big earrings and bright lips. I realize that I do those things so that I'm seen and I'm heard, but without speaking. So you look at me, you hear me. I mean, I ain't gotta say nothing. So even with stuff like that, it's eye-opening, and I see it, I receive it, and I'm gonna respond accordingly. So grateful. Just wanted to capture that. Peace.
Thanks for allowing me to share with you. Bye for now. Yeah, high five!
That was awesome.
Woo! We did it!
We did it, exactly.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you so much.